Recording in progress.
I know that I'm at 6:29. One more. Yeah, I got 6:29. Then I'll be ready. Okay.
You don't have a? Hola, buenas tardes still. Good evening, and I'm calling this meeting of this regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the West County Wastewater District of Wednesday, July 19th. Call it to order at 6:30. That's actually just at 6:31. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Here.
Here. Present. Here.
I am present. Gracias, appreciate that, madam. Everyone, now is the time. If you will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, or if you so desire, you may observe a moment of silence, seated or standing. And I'd like to ask Vice President Alvarado to please lead us through that.
Yes, I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I'd also like to ask Vice President Alvarado to serve as parliamentarian for tonight's meeting. Sir, are you prepared to do so? And yes, sir?
Yes, I am.
And with that, would you please remind the audience of the...
Reminder to members of the public in attendance, the board has adopted rules governing the conduct of its public meetings. Public participation is welcome and encouraged. All public comments should be addressed to the board as a body, and we ask that you please respect the 3-minute time limit per speaker. All persons attending board meetings shall observe the rules, any additional rules the board may establish, and the orders of the president with respect to the conduct of the meeting. No person may disrupt or disturb the board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public. Now is the time for public comment for items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments or requests to speak for tonight's meeting?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on non-agenda items, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you so much. With that, General Manager Clow, would you please lead us through the rest of the agenda, sir?
Thank you, Madam President. The consent calendar consists of items 1 through 3 on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments or requests to speak on consent calendar items?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on consent calendar items, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom.
If there are no comments, we recommend the board approve consent calendar items 1 through 3.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I
sir.
would like to pull item 2.
Item 2. Thank you. Item award for Corolla Engineers. Do we have we need a second to pull that item?
Hearing none.
Is it to discuss or just to pull the item?
Yeah, I wanted to make comment about it.
You know what, I will second it, just if you want to speak on it, it's fine. And so for now, we will, are there any further discussion on items 1 and 3 on the consent calendar?
We should have a vote on the motion to pull item 2.
And is there anything else from the consent calendar to pull? No. So, Madam Clerk, can we please vote on pulling item number 2?
So on the motion to pull consent calendar item 2, motioned by Director Weiner and seconded by President Suddeth. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
Nope.
3.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
3-2.
So we will pull item number 2, and with that, we will move forward with voting on the consent calendar 1 and 3.
I move the items.
It's been moved by Vice President Alvarado and seconded by Director Weiner. Madam, will you please poll the board?
On the motion by Vice President Alvarado and seconded by Director Weiner to approve consent calendar items 1 and 3, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes.
Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and take item number 2. Director Weiner, you have pulled item number 2, and I'm going to go ahead and take it. Do you want to take it now or at the end?
Yeah, so under the board's policies, it goes to the
We take it at the end, yeah.
calendar.
So, and we're going to go into closed session now? Okay. So with that, we'll take it at, let me see, where is that on the agenda? We'll take it at the end of the regular calendar after item 6. So Board Clerk, can you put it after item 6 on the regular calendar? Please. Move, removed, item. Okay, good. Okay, with that, General Manager, back to you. You have arrived.
Next on the agenda is closed session. General Counsel Nicole Witt will announce the closed session agenda.
The board will now convene into closed session as described in the agenda. This closed session is related to matters arising from the employment of former General Manager Lisa Malik-Sadeh. Now is the time for public comment on this item. If there is none, the board will convene into closed session. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to comment on item 4 of closed session, please come to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
We'll now convene into a separate room for closed session, return to this open session, and report out if needed.
Thank you. Before we go into closed session, I just want to make an announcement to make sure everyone silences their phones, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And board, please turn off your microphones. Directors, please.
Hey, Justin, I know you're gonna go do that when you come back. I'll show you, and then, or you can either send it or, yeah, I'll show you what's happening. This is good. We have a few minutes.
So Freddie's doing good.
He had called me. And I'm pretty sure he was calling me about my,
We are reconvening our meeting after closed session. We are reconvening at pretty good, exactly 7:30. And I will turn it back over to our illustrious General Counsel. Madam,
Board met in closed session, and there is no reportable action.
thank you so much. General Manager, back over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Next on the agenda is regular calendar item 5 to approve a contract with Apex Technology Management LLC for managed IT services. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 5, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you. Director of Administrative Services, Justin Lovell, will provide a presentation before the board's consideration of this item.
Good evening, Justin Lovell, Director of Administrative Services. So this evening I'm going to just give a presentation about managed IT services more in general before going into a little bit more detail about the contract, the award that we're recommending tonight. So let's make sure I click that. Let's see. Hold on, I gotta. Oh, that was me. Well, I'll ask you to click next. Thanks. So just starting off, what is managed IT services? It's a third party that is providing information technology services for an agency like ours, and so they are an extension of staff. And as a third party, they provide on-site and remote support for computers, laptops, cell phones, software, our networks. They also provide cybersecurity monitoring. They provide management of our systems, cybersecurity training, and as well as administration of those systems that are required to maintain secure networks. They provide backup assistance, maintain our network backup information, and in the event of a disaster, they provide disaster recovery to get our networks back up and running as soon as possible. A managed IT provider also provides strategic advice and coordination and planning regarding all things information technology related to the business needs of this agency. So just a little bit of history of how we got here in West County Wastewater. So in the early 2000s, from my understanding of talking to staff that are here, the IT was essentially a part-time job with one of our existing employees, who knew IT and was kind of responsible for it, but just like as time allowed. And then if there was specific needs, they'd bring in a company to come in, maybe install servers or do some network troubleshooting at the time. So in about 2010, it was getting too complicated, too much legwork for one person to do it occasionally. And so at that time, West County Wastewater hired a managed IT provider. And that managed IT provider really was helpful to maintain and build up the existing networks. And so we've been using a managed IT service provider for well over 10 years now with West County Wastewater. Under our current managed IT services contract, over the last 4 years since I started working with West County Wastewater, we've increased they've done quite a bit of work to help us maintain and improve our networks. This is including upgrading our switches, upgrading servers. We've also been helping us roll out different technologies. We've included endpoint protection, multi-factor authentication, improving wireless connections throughout our buildings, improving our password policies, helping us migrating from Microsoft Office on-premise on our server for our emails to Office 365, which is a cloud-based Microsoft product. So as a managed IT service provider, one of the benefits that they have is there is a bandwidth of staff. So if we hired this same service in-house, there would only be there might be one person, there might be two people that could handle the networks, but a managed IT services provider has network administrators, cybersecurity experts, there are technical expertise, and then they have many staff who can assist us at whatever issue that we have, and so they can help take care of it, versus if we had some of this work in-house, there's going to be instances where in-house staff would be beyond their capacity or beyond the bandwidth, and so they would need additional outside assistance. So just to let you know where we're at with the RFP process, and so in 2018 was the last time we did a request for proposals for managed IT services. So it's been about 5 years. Our current purchasing policy does, for services, say that we have every 5 years we'll go out to a solicitation. So in March of this year, we issued a solicitation, so an RFP for managed IT services. The responses were due in May, and we were really happy that we got 10 proposals, which is a lot. And so it took us a lot longer to do an evaluation. So we wanted to make sure that all the proposers got a fair shot, and we gave them a fair evaluation. So we went through those initial 10 proposals, created a list of 5 that were in the competitive range. And so those 5 next highest ranked proposals, we invited those firms to interviews, and we went through, we continued through the selection process, and then towards the end of June, we came around and Apex Apex Technology was the highest ranked proposal. And so you go to the next slide. And so we are recommending that the board approve a contract for the Apex Technology Management. So just to show you here on the cost, the first year cost is $193,000 plus special projects, and then the subsequent years are $183,500. So, which just to note, this is a savings of about $30,000 from what our current managed IT service provider is offering. So the good thing about going out to solicitations every so many years, we're looking at, are we able to get the best rates for the services? And I believe this is something that we've been able to find through this competitive process. So we'll be asking the board tonight to approve an initial 3-year contract for $710,000 with 2 1-year extensions. And each 1-year extension is $250,000, so it would be a total of about $1.2 million contract. And so then we would be, to transition to Apex from our current managed IT service provider, Clara Computers, it would anticipate that they would transition to do the full services in September of 2023. So this evening, I just want to, we have several of the Apex staff members here. So I'm going to start off with Mark Copewood. He can just introduce himself just so you can know who the Apex team is. And they come out here if you want to come up and introduce yourselves to the board.
Thanks, Justin. First of all, thank you very much for having us. By way of introduction, I'm Mark Copewood. I'm the Vice President of Public Sector. And I'm a retired police chief. So I spent about 5 years in Beverly Hills, and I was with the city of Sacramento before that. And so I got brought on to lead our largest vertical, which is the public sector. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to join you. I think the value is I speak your language and have for a lot of years, and have sat through a lot of meetings like this. And so it's just a real pleasure to be here. I'm going to give the mic over to George Pasadakis, who's the Director of Sales and Marketing.
Yeah, as Mark said, we're real honored to have the opportunity to support the district. We have a lot of clients similar to the district, so we're very familiar with how things run, the need to provide cost-effective solutions, but also keep the district secure from all the latest cybersecurity threats. Apex has been around since 1991, so we've been doing this for a long time. There's about 50 of us at Apex, and then we have clients throughout the state, clients nearby, and then we also have a cybersecurity division called Cyber 74, which has about 28 to 30 employees now, and all they do is cybersecurity. from penetration testing, security and risk assessments, cybersecurity services. Many of them come from the defense and banking industries, so they really are top-notch. So we're bringing a really solid team. One of the things we pride ourselves on is customer service, so we're really known for that direct end-user staff-level support relationship. If you look us up on Google, look at all our reviews, those are all comments directly from our end users. So we're going to bring our customer satisfaction in to the district. One of the industry benchmarks, you guys have seen like JD Power that rates car satisfaction and all of that. The one that looks over our industry managed service providers is called Channel E2E, and they just released their top 100 IT providers nationally, and we are in their top 100 list, and then we're number 5 for government support, and all the other 4 on the list are supporting the federal government on the East Coast. So anyway, we're looking forward to a relationship with the district. We brought a couple of other people here that they'll just quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll be available for any questions. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tom Grissell. I am the Chief Experience Officer for Apex, and I manage a team of VCIOs. They're like strategic account managers who come to all our client organizations, and they help provide strategic direction, make sure that customer service levels are met, and act as if they were your local IT manager. So they come alongside the organization and help in all aspects of planning and daily operation of IT, and they work with our service folks, a couple of whom you'll meet in just a minute here. I've been with Apex about 15 years now, so I've been doing this quite a while, have worked with many clients, and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brent Nosek. I'm one of the engineers that Tom was just talking about over at Apex. I'm the senior systems engineer that is in charge of the government sector. So I work primarily with municipalities and any sort of tangentially related sector items. I've been at this for about 10 years or so now, and I started off at the help desk and moved into field work, and now I do more of a consulting and more of the end-to-end stuff with directly with agencies. I've got a handful of folks on my team that I lead. One of them is right behind me, and I'll let him introduce himself. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Apex. I'm part of the managed services division. We do IT support, do a system, mainly system administration, remote support and on-site support. So I come on site, fix your machines, get you up and running, and take care of you guys. Provide a good customer service as well as try to help communicate issues and try to get back in a timely manner. So it's part of our job.
Well, thank you for the Apex team. Just wanted to have an opportunity for them to get to know you, since there are many opportunities that you run into. All of us run into IT issues occasionally, and so we want to know who you'll be working with. So just the recommendation tonight is we're asking that the board authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Apex Technology Management for a not to exceed of $710,000 and $710,046 for a 3-year term with 2 one-year extensions for a total aggregate not to exceed of $1.2 million. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Oh, don't sit down yet. Don't sit down yet. Don't sit down yet. But before we ask any questions, Madam Clerk, do we get any questions? Are there any questions from the public, or did anyone wish to speak on this item?
No one has raised their hand in Zoom, no written comments. If anyone wishes to comment on this item now, please approach the podium. Seeing none, no public comment.
Gracias. Directors, did you have any questions before I ask my questions?
Sure.
Okay, we'll start with Director Rendila.
I was just curious, could you tell us in layman's terms exactly what Apex does from besides saying IT? I mean, are you,
Well, I mean, what we hired them to provide is essentially an extension of staff. So they are going to be monitoring, they monitor our networks, make sure our servers are working, make sure we're online.
Yes.
Provide any technical support to staff. So if you have an issue with your device, you can't log on, you would be calling Apex like you do currently with Clear Computer. So they're the technical support for anything related to our computers, our networks. They also are monitoring our systems on the cybersecurity front is also one of the areas, is just helping make sure that we don't have any cybersecurity issues, but they're also there to respond and make sure that we're able to continue doing the work that we need to do and have access to the systems and software that we need to do our work here at the district. That's my essential, and they do that across the board, and they have several clients, cities, other special districts in California that they do the same type of work with.
and the contract, if passed, will be from September 2023 to September 2026?
Yes, well, we'll be starting actually a little bit sooner than that. So basically, the effective date will be after the board approves this item, and then it'll go for a 3-year term with potential for 2 1-year extensions.
The transition period.
Transition, exactly. So we do need a transition period. We can't just cut off one provider
Right.
to the other. There's going to be probably about a 30-day overlap.
And last question, Apex, where are you located?
No worries at all, and we're here to answer any question you have at all. So we're located in Redding, California, and and then we're spread out throughout the state with a hybrid workforce of remote. It's important for the board to understand that we are going to have a presence with you as well. I think we have the contract for 16 hours to actually be on site. This won't be the last time you'll see any of us. We're very involved with many boards and many councils, to city councils, county boards, to be able to answer any questions you have at any board meetings, et cetera. And we wanted to actually bring the staff that you'll see, and that's why Guillermo and Brent are here. So Guillermo's about 20 minutes away from you, and it's important that when we hire great staff like Guillermo, that they can respond in a timely manner if you have an urgency, because I know when I sat in your chair, all I wanted to do was be able to get on the internet and type an email, right? I don't care why I'm down, and it was great to have somebody like Guillermo to come quickly and be able to restore everything.
Madam?
Yes, I just have, I think the discussion that we had in our financial and administrative operations, we asked plenty of questions of you, Justin. And one question that I really wanted to make sure was the performance of the evaluation, and how did you come to really discern how Apex was going to be the one chosen? And it was clearly understood and stated that this organization, this company, is well endowed to do the job. And not only that, but do it very well. And we were very impressed, the vice chair and the chair, and I was very impressed with the question we asked, and you clarified them. So it's just comments to, hearing them and seeing you in person at this. It's different just seeing on, up on screen, but to come and to assure us that it will be someone here to come to the site, to be available, and not just over the phone and talk to you and you lead us through what we need to have done. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I can just add on, just so for those who weren't at the meeting, just to understand kind of the evaluation process they went through. So there were 4 internal staff that we read through all the proposals. We had a scoring criteria that was listed as part of the RFP. And so there were scores associated with all of them, and then we organized them out and took the top 5. And then from those top 5, we had interviews and we asked each firm, we had essentially a list of 6 questions that we wanted them to answer and give us a presentation on. And then we did an additional rating on top of those 5. And Apex came out as the highest ranked. So when we put all those scores together, Apex was the highest ranked. And I do just on responsiveness, one thing, the other piece is once Apex was shown as the highest ranked firm, we did do additional reference checks. And so as part of the proposal they did have, we asked all the firms to provide references, and we did check the references. And so we all, the agencies that currently are using Apex as their managed IT firm, they spoke very highly of Apex. And so that just kind of, that was the extra step that we had to take just to make sure that we're making the right selection for the district.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
I am in support of the contract, but I am going to make a comment about the general principle of hiring consulting rather than in-house staff. And I am going to sound like a broken record on this, and I will continue to be that broken record. As an organization, we need to have an IT department with experienced IT experts. The argument against is usually that the cost to bring in this expertise is greater than the cost of hiring consultants. As a former consultant and a one-man corporation, I can tell you that the reason consulting firms are cheaper is pay and benefits. As a one-person corporation, I was in competition with these outfits, and after long and heartfelt discussions with my employee, me, I did not reduce my wages and benefits, which ultimately led to the end of my consultancy. Colleagues, we need to dump the corporate mindset. We are not a corporation, but a public entity. We should not be part of a 40-year freeze of wages and benefits brought to us by big business and its supporters. We should support our community by supplying well-paying jobs and benefits.
Is that it? Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, this presentation was given to the FA committee on July 13th, as I was sitting in for President Suddiff, who was at a conference. And one of the things that I was concerned about was hands-on, and pretty much answered my questions pretty well regarding that. I was just concerned with the last provider we had, or the current provider we had, that they weren't so hands-on. So I really want us to have a good hands-on relationship with this company. But I'm very, very satisfied that you guys did the RFP, and that was great that you got 10 responses. And it sounds like you really did your due diligence. So the recommendation of the committee is that we approve this. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, thank you. I have a couple questions, logistic questions first, and then questions on the actual Apex. So I want to start with Justin first. A couple questions that I would like just for the record that weren't included with the staff report. I understand that it was included with the committee report, but just for purposes of clarification and just to include it in the staff report, because you mentioned that there were 10 proposers, and of those, 5 of them were narrowed down. And so I think that just as a matter of clarity, that it would be nice to have in the staff report who those top 5 were and what the rankings were, the final rankings, including the scores, just so we can have them for the record and we can see where they fell and what those final, maybe just the top 3 pricings fell, so that we can see where that $30,000 savings is, and just to put in the actual staff report the $30,000 savings, because I would just like to see that just iterated there for the record, so that the public can see it and anybody who's not like listening, but can actually see it for posterity. And just so you know, in the back, this is what I do for a living. I'm my mortgage paying job.
I'm a I'm a contracts and compliance and I am a procurement officer. So this is what I do. And I think 10 proposals, Justin, is great. This is fantastic. So I take my hijab off to you. I'm not gonna take it off for real, but yeah. I told it to you. This is fantastic. To get 10 proposals for managed IT is fantastic. Now, Apex. Whoever wish to answer. In the vein of Vice Presidents Alvarado and the us three of the other directors. Sir Justin knows this about me very well because I usually call him panicking right before I'm about to get on a plane because that's usually when my computer decides it doesn't want to work. The Chief Experience Officer, sir. You can answer too, but all of you, actually. Ms. Annie, Director King Meredith mentioned it, and Vice President Alvarado mentioned it, is the ability to have access quickly. And I'm glad, Sir Guillermo, that you're 20 minutes away. How close are you to Oakland? Because that's where I work. And having for us to stop whatever we're doing and run into here, and we can only come here for 1, 2, or 3 days, and it's got to be on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock or whatever, it doesn't work because many of us work other jobs, and we have to be able to have access. And so I want assurance about that, and I really want to know about response time. What is your definition of customer service? Are you able to assist us online in real time so that I don't have to come here and be here in your face? And then yeah, we can start there. And then I have a couple other questions. Go ahead.
Sure, thanks. Great questions. And as far as responsiveness, both remote support and on-site support, we have that covered in our plan. And the vast majority of issues, I'll just be honest, are going to be handled by a remote team. They're there ready to take calls at any point when you have the issue. We encourage staff to call whenever they have an issue, not wait until the next day or go through somebody at the organization first. And our latest call statistics are, if you were to call our help desk during business hours, you're speaking with a technician within 17 seconds. So you're not leaving a message, waiting for a call back, having to go fill out a form for a ticket. You can do that. We also can take tickets from our website. Some clients like to do that. One of the questions in there is, what's the best time to reach you for this issue? Some people would say, all right, I'm clear between 2 and 3 p.m. tomorrow, and we can set that time up, and that's when the technician will call you. So we're very experienced with that. We always have staff ready to take those calls. They're help desk staff. That's what they do. They don't go out in the field. We have other field engineers like Guillermo and Brent that do the on-site work. So there's always somebody there available to help. After hours, your plan includes emergency support after hours. So if you can't log into your workstation or a staff member can't get to their email after hours, live answering service, so you're not just leaving a message. That live answering service will verify that user is at a client on our plan that you're going to have, and then they connect them through to the on-call technicians, which we always have. And then they connect in, look at the issue, take care of that for you. Closed, and number one, all issues are put into a ticketing system. So wastewater staff would have access to see everything we did this month, this week, this year, how much time we spent, what type of issues. Everything goes into our ticketing system. And once the ticket is closed, this will come back to your next question, what does customer service mean? When the ticket is closed, every time a customer satisfaction survey goes out. I don't know if you guys picked up on that from any of the references, but we want to know, how are we doing from a support standpoint? There's 5 easy questions, and one of them is, do you consider this issue resolved? Sometimes the technician thinks, I solved it, it's working, but the end user didn't understand it. We don't like that. We want to make sure in their mind, the issue they called in or reached out to us for is resolved. So we monitor, most of us here are on the executive committee at Apex. We monitor every week the customer service statistics that we see that, and we have really high scores from that coming in. Anytime there's a low score, but it's below 95%, our help desk manager, we have somebody that manages the help desk full-time, they reach out to that customer to figure out what happened. So that's why I said if you go look at our Google reviews, these are all customers that call us all the time for support. So we have that capability, and to us, customer service is solving the right problem for the end user. So did we actually accomplish the goal of why that user reached out to us? Sometimes they call us with an issue and it's something else that is impacting the issue, but we want to make sure we fix that, and then we also make sure they're happy with the solution. One of the things we're known for is our people talk tech and they talk people. They're not just backdoor technicians that speak jargon that nobody understands, right? They're good at talking to people and figuring out what level of technology that person understands. Some people are power users and some people are very shy with their computer. So we're able to take care of both of those extremes and everything in the middle. So we're looking at it from that standpoint. Guillermo will be on site 16 hours a month, as we mentioned. So, but really the vast majority of things, once we onboard, we have a very formalized process for onboarding. We document the network into our system. We're able to provide that support very quickly. And then we do 24/7 monitoring. So late at night, if the backup server crashes, it's going to generate an alert 24/7. Our on-call technician is going to start working on that immediately. If there's a system that goes down, we want to resolve it before people come into work the next day. So, so we have a lot of technology that we put in place for that.
Are you using a private server, or are you using like AWS, or what are you using for your server?
Well, when we onboard, we'll document what you have. I believe you have on-prem servers, 2 physical hosts with some virtual machines running on them with VMware. So I would say 75% of our clients have that, and then they also have some cloud systems, so we call that a hybrid environment, some on-premise, some in the cloud. But we have clients with AWS.
So you're using our systems? No, I'm just wondering if we're using,
At Apex, we have a hybrid of both on-site and cloud systems with redundancy. So, but we're certified in all those aspects. We're Microsoft Gold partners, so we're in the top tier, VMware, which is the virtualization software. We're Dell Premier dealers, so we're in all the major vendors, and we have support contacts if we need to escalate anything up to them.
okay, yeah, that's my concern, because when we call IT, we are put on hold, and it's like forever, and it's forever.
So you actually, when you call us, that's 17 seconds.
No, this 17 seconds, no, I can count now. I'm just gonna tell you, I know I count. I can count in 9 languages. I'm just trying to tell you.
If all those techs are busy, we also have a full-time scheduling coordinator that will answer, and he will find out what the issue is and then get a technician on it.
I just want somebody to fix it, is all.
Someone to fix it, and someone who comes back with an answer that's...
With an answer, yes, that doesn't require me to drive, 45 minutes or longer than that sometimes from downtown Oakland across to Richmond when I have a flight in a few hours. This is all I want to know. I just want it fixed, because Justin knows I will break a computer. I'm pretty good at breaking them. I'm a power user, so I just need it fixed. These are.
I've been at Apex 15 years. I've been there 13, and one of the things we did early on was people want their issue fixed, but they also don't want to have the same issue again, right?
That's mine. I don't want it. I don't want it to do it again.
Yeah.
This is what I want.
So what we have what we call a root cause board, and if we see the same issue coming up several times, anybody at Apex technician can put that on the root cause board, and we have senior engineer dig into the problem and find out what the root cause is. Why is this happening multiple times? Let's fix that. You don't want to just keep fixing the symptoms with pills and then they keep getting sick, right? So we have a formal process for that. In order to get into these awards that we're in, they actually look at our systems and workflows. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have many clients that have between 25 and 350 employees. So you guys are right in the sweet spot of that.
We've got to be like, we've got that at work. I just don't want you to ask me what the problem is.
Right.
If I knew what the problem is, I could fix it myself. Yeah. Don't ask me what's wrong with it. I don't know. It's not coming on. That's the problem. It's black. So anybody else have any more questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I was just curious, in the event of computer crashing, one of our computers crashing completely and not being able to open it. How would you describe the scenario?
So we would talk to the user, make sure that it's plugged in, all the basic stuff. It has power if it's a laptop.
Right.
If we can't get it going, then we're going to dispatch an on-site technician to come out, right?
To the home or meet here?
If it's at the home, depending where you are, if you can bring it into the office, then we can have the technician meet you here. We also have other resources, a sister company in San Mateo. So depending where you're at, we might have a technician nearby that you can meet up at a Starbucks or something. We generally don't send people to people's homes, but the goal would be get you up and running as quickly as possible.
And then we've had issues with spotty Wi-Fi in this room. How would you address that?
So during our onboarding, it's in the RFP, we have a formal process there. We do an assessment during the onboarding phase, and we take a look at what you have, how do you compare to industry best practice. We'll take a look at the wireless technology. That's definitely something on there. And if there's a lack of coverage, we can add additional access points. Or it might be that Wi-Fi access point, just the power setting can be turned up. Or maybe it's too strong and it's conflicting with something else. So we have certified Wi-Fi engineers on our staff that have done Wi-Fi for public stadiums, conferences. So we have hospitals with hundreds of access points. So Wi-Fi is a core service we need to make sure that that's working solid. So we'll make recommendations on what it takes to fix it. We'll get that to Justin and his team and proposal list. Here's the equipment, here's the licenses you need, here's the labor if that's involved, and then you approve that. We go ahead and procure it, come on site, install it, and make sure it works, test it out, and then update our documentation.
Well, if you get the contract, don't forget this room.
Yeah, I think we got to fix the clicker too.
Yes. Jen, another question?
Thank you.
You, Director Wiener? No. Director Alvarado? Okay, and I will delete Guillermo cannot come fix the router at my house. Okay, other than that, I have no more questions. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to it. All right, with that, Director, since there's no more questions and we have no more public comments, I will entertain a motion. And before you say anything, don't get all excited yet. Before you say anything, let me tell you what we will be approving. We will be entertaining a motion to approve a contract with Apex Technology Management LLC in an amount not to exceed $17,046,000 to provide managed information technology services for a 3-year term with 2 one-year options to extend, and I'm going to add, at the discretion of the general manager with approval. You do have to bring this back to the board for a total aggregate amount not to exceed $1,213,596 and authorize the general manager to execute such agreement. We will authorize the general manager to exercise the 2 additional 1-year options to extend if deemed to be in the best interest of the district. Say aye.
Aye.
Wait, well, that's right. I'm sorry. It's late. And I have not eaten. Okay, so first I need a motion. Somebody?
Yes, as the
Do you move?
acting committee chair for the Finance Administration Committee, who first got this proposal, I recommend approval.
So-
Entire board, so I'll make a motion.
So Vice President Alvarado, thank you so much. And it is very appropriate that you move this item as the acting chair of the Finance Committee. Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
And I second it.
As the other member of the Finance Committee, it is very appropriate that you second it. Madam King Meredith. Okay, I will let you do the honors, madam.
Oh, you did such a good job reading the motion.
Yes, I know. Well, you can just ask. You can just ask.
Okay, I'll just go through it again, just for the sake of the record. So on the motion by Vice President Alvarado and seconded by Director King Meredith to approve the contract with Apex Technology Management LLC in an amount not to exceed $710,046 to provide managed IT Information Technology Services for a 3-year term with 2 one-year options to extend for a total aggregate amount not to exceed $1,213,596, and authorize the general manager to execute the same. Authorize the general manager to exercise the 2 additional one-year options to extend if deemed to be in the best interest of WCW. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. And before we move on, I just want to remind the board to please remember to turn on your mics. For context, we get information from staff that they cannot hear from the live stream, so please do that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right. Sir, back to you. General Manager.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is regular calendar item 6, receive the CIP update report for fiscal year 2023 and adopt the revised 10-year CIP. Madam Clerk, have we received written comments or requests to speak on this item?
And receive written comments. If anyone wishes to speak on this item now, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
And I see Angela Andrews, our Capital Projects Portfolio Manager, ready to go.
Yes, can we start the presentation over? We were doing a little testing, so we're getting a preview. We're watching the movie backward.
Oh, okay, you're almost, okay, sorry for testing it earlier.
We can leave it there.
Hello, my name is Angela Andrews, and I'm with the Infrastructure and Planning Department and head of the Capital Projects Division. Today, we'll be going over the capital improvement plan, and I'll start off by saying we're not asking for additional money this year, so hopefully that's a good preview to the presentation. We are going to go over the program, the performance, an update, and then 6 months activities for both project and program. So I just want to, I guess people can hear me now. I just wanted to go over quickly what the division and responsibility, as well as information about the different programs. So the capital projects, we're responsible for delivery of projects at the plant, as well as the Hilltop, as well as our collection system. We have a 10-year capital plan and a 5-year program. We will be discussing the different projects within the program. So the capital project delivery system is that we have a plan that we approve, and then we have 7 programs. We have the Clean and Green program, facilities, force main assessments, gravity sewers, lift stations, plant processes, and other. And within those programs, we have projects within those programs, and we do that for the sake of efficiency. Sometimes when we have projects that are alike, we'll see cost savings when we gather those projects into one program. Sorry. Oh, if you can go back, please. So in fiscal year 22, we had a board approval for $121 million, and then we spent $20 million on project delivery. A lot of that was spent on the Clean and Green program. And in fiscal year 23, we have a budget of $129, and we spent $32 million on the program. And $103 million of that includes encumbrances. Next year, we are anticipating $97 million, and that would also include the Clean and Green program. So you can see the breakout of the 129 was spent. 67% of that was on clean and green, but we did do a lot of replacements of our sewers, and we will be continuing to focus on our collection system so we can reduce sanitary sewer overflows while we're making improvements at the plant. We do also have a couple of facilities projects that we spent money on, including our CSO roof, seismic retrofit. We also did 2 force mains, Lakeside and Hilltop Green, and we will be focusing on planning for other projects as well as design. And we did spend some funds on plant processes and lift stations. So for the performance, again, 32 million, and then we had expenditures without encumbrances at 32 million, and then with encumbrances, it's 103 million.
Angela, I hate to stop you, but do you want to explain to board members who are not part of our finance committee, and to the general public, let's just say it that way, the difference between with and without encumbrances?
Sure, no
just to clear the record.
Oh, sure.
Some people love jargon, but some don't understand it. So tell them what encumbrances with and without means.
Encumbrances are commitments of contracts that we've already signed on to, so we are committed to those dollars. So when we say with encumbrances, we're saying that that total amount includes the committed dollars from a contract. When we say without committed dollars, without encumbrances, it does not include those commitments, but actual spent. So money that has, work that has been done, and we've signed checks, and that work has moved forward, and we agree with that work moving forward, and so we're paying for that work. Encumbrances is work that we've agreed to, but we have not seen that work completed, and that work has not been paid for at this time, but we have signed a contract amount.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Next, please. So next year, or this year, fiscal year 24, we have a plan of 97 million across all the programs that we plan on spending. And here is an overview of our fiscal 23 budget with our actuals. So the actuals reflect without encumbrances, and then our budget for next year of 97 million. And I wanted to show this slide, is it reflects how we're pretty evenly distributed across the different programs. We have about 25% of our dollars committed to gravity sewers, plant processes, and 3% of that is, of the whole program, is the Clean and Green project, so it is a significant amount of work in one project. And then we have 18% of facilities. The other 3% is for planning studies that we anticipate to come out of Services Division, and that would include projects such as master plans and other initiatives that we would like to receive more information about before we move forward with projects. And here are the list of projects that we have per program. And as you can see, they are across the district as well as across our facilities. So I won't read the whole list, but many of these include upgrades at the plant, several lift stations. As you recall, in previous years, we worked on 5 lift stations. The next phase will be 4 lift stations, and as well as a communication upgrade at the lift stations. A variety of sewer replacements, force mains. We are currently starting construction on La Honda force main, but we also have the force main condition assessment as part of this program. And then we have the planning and clean and green project as the other 2 programs and projects. And here's the program health of across our portfolio. As you can see, we do have a few projects that are on hold, but many of our projects are on track in terms of budget. Two are delayed for a variety of reasons, but mainly we have been seeing a lot of movement across the portfolio with very limited staff, but we have continued to across the program. And here we have the projects by phase, the 31% on hold. I spoke to earlier about some of the projects that are on hold. Some of these projects are actually on hold because of the Clean and Green project. We would like to see what efficiencies are made once that project is completed to determine whether we need to move forward on a few of those projects. So that those are some of the reasons why they are on hold. But many of our projects are in construction, and my favorite part of the phase is the closing phase. We have about 15% in closing, so that means projects are getting completed. And if you can go back to that one slide, I should go over the phases just real quickly for the board. You can go back one more. Yep. So the general phases are initiation is when we start a project, so it'll include our project charter, which explains what we're doing with that project, including the scope. Then we will move forward with our project management plan, which outlines what we're going to do in this project and how we're going to do it. Then we'll move forward on planning, and that is preparing for the project to be get ready for build out. For design. Then we'll go through the design phase and construction, and then closing includes coming to the board, reporting out, and closing out our financials. And this is just an overview slide of all the programs. You can skip to the next slide. And this is identifying the location of our facilities projects. This is a visual of our CSO seismic retrofit. And this is an example of our force main projects. We've completed we've completed 2 force main projects. 1 force main is underway, but we do have a force main condition assessment, so that explains all the fours. We are reviewing multiple force mains to determine what needs need to be made for those force mains. And right now we are studying Tower Hills and figuring out what the scope of work would be for improving that force main. And photo is just of one of our contractors working on creating a dual force mains for us to have more reliability to reduce sanitary sewer overflows. Next, that was our gravity sewer program, and we are continuing to design and plan for design for our gravity sewers, and as well as construction in order to reduce sanitary sewer overflows. And this one is our lift station. This is an lift station example of what we would like to see in our lift station projects, and it includes a generator. We are installing generators at a few of our lift stations to increase reliability of that lift station to reduce failures, and also increase resiliency for our infrastructure at the district. And next is our plant processes. Again, a lot of these projects are on hold due to Clean and Green, but we are continuing to work on our projects, including our sea level rise protection project is included as part of this program. And here are a list of things that are happening at the Clean and Green project. This is an example of some of the, we're actually doing a lot of work with the Clean and Green project, and one of the items is to replace our digesters. This is showing the concrete floor of our digester. Right now we do have walls that are formed, and we'll be pouring concrete of those walls. So the next time you go to the plant, it will be some drastic improvements that have been made at the facilities. And I just wanted to share a little bit about this slide. These are projects that we feel directly support the strategic plan. Again, I won't read every project, but a lot of the things that we're doing within our division are not just related to construction, but also with the program. We are continuing to improve our capital project delivery system. We are using software in order to enhance our project management for our division. We also hired another project manager, so we have 3 project managers now in our division, and we are also engaging with the community and increasing our public outreach for our projects, including the Clean and Green project. And there are a variety of other things that we're doing with our division, but we just wanted to show how everything we do, it ties to a goal within the strategic plan. And here are some of the significant program activities. We are continuing to train on our project resource guide, as well as continuing to improve our SOPs. For the Clean and Green project, we just achieved 95% design. The remaining design will be related to the battery storage and microgrid. And we are anticipating some significant activities with the project, including hoping to receive our air quality permit in August, and then continuing with the digesters and also dewatering our EQ basin, which we are expecting to complete in summer. And our goal for gravity sewer replacement was 2.5. We surpassed that goal. We're at 3.4 compared to 0.8 in 2019. So we are seeing some efficiencies on how we are delivering projects, particularly in our collection system. And we did do additional training of e-builder with project managers as well as finance. And we're about 80% of our projects in the system. We are continuing to add projects into the system and also improving our workflows within the system. And again, we do have 3 project managers full-time in our division. So for project activities, we're going to continue working on multiple construction projects, but also really looking at what we're going to do here at Hilltop as well as the plant for our facilities. And we will also be starting our gravity sewer pipes for El Sobrante as well as Lower San Pablo. And then we will be continuing to work on La Honda Force Main. And we will continue to work on our project delivery system. We'll continue to train other departments with our delivery system. We've already started working with plant staff on reviewing what is a project versus what is a maintenance item, so we can have clarity between our 2 departments and divisions on where does that work fall. We have also continued to implement our software system. We are also looking at how Laserfish is going to work with eBuilder for archiving, and we are using OpenGov for our RFPs for our contracts. And we're going to be working with planning and support services to determine what is our prioritization of how we address force mains as well as collection system projects. Right now, we do have projects that are coming up because of some of the work that we're doing in terms of review of our current projects, but we do want to address locations where we're seeing some emergency. So we're looking at prioritizing those areas as well, and then working to improve our financial reporting with the finance division. And that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
So we haven't received any written comments. No one has raised their hand in Zoom, but if anyone wishes to speak on the item now, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, no public comments.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Directors? Sir, we'll start with you.
Sure. The million-dollar question is, I've been asked by the press and some neighborhood councils, and when will we able to open it up for tours? The plant,
For the plants?
for the general public?
Okay, I don't, I can, I have Director Weiner here, who would probably better to address that question.
Aaron Weiner, on the hot seat.
Not to be confused with this.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I knew who you were talking about. Thanks, Angela.
We're both old, but
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is, we have probably another 8 or 10 months before we, get to a point of this clean and green project that will, that we'd probably feel comfortable with, thinking about, a strategy to open up to the public. Things are just so disrupted and, torn up right now that it just wouldn't be safe. So I'm thinking that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, for the record, I appreciate that, and I thought it was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam?
Yes, I have a couple through, I was looking through the pages, but you answered a lot. I'm doing the presentation, excellent presentation. But I noticed just looking through the presentation that we have quite a few that has been completed, and to see for the 10-year, the strategic plan, and that we're at the fifth year for right now, and a lot of them has been on target. But then again, I see that it's a few that are on hold at this point. And I think it was, you explained that, the ones that are hold are actually folding into the clean and green at this point. I was noticing, I was looking for my notes that I had when you were looking at the ones that had been completed, and just off the top of my head, and you probably can elaborate and tell me what they are. As I look through this information that has been given to us, it has been noted for the names of the projects that has been completed. And looking at the area of, say, Carriage Hill, you have the name, Carriage Hill completed, or when it's going to be completed. But notice you had several that was lined up and it wasn't named as to the area. Say, for instance, looking at Market and Garamita, San Pablo, Lower San Pablo. And I was wondering why it wasn't named like the other ones was named. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
We do have a nomenclature for our projects, and we do have jurisdictions identified for the project, but normally what we do is put the street names of those projects. And when we do closeout reports or contract amendments or starting a new contract, we usually do put the jurisdiction within the staff report of those sewer replacements, but normally we do sewer replacements by street name. So that's probably why you read some projects as Run Real South of Market versus saying Carriage Hills Forest Main. So that's the reason why, is because of the name of the street versus the location of the lift station versus an area.
But they were all, as I read, they are completed at this point.
Some of them. So there are some projects that are complete in terms of construction, but they may not be complete because of closeout financials. And so we definitely needed to review our phases to either downgrade it because of that, but the work has been done, so we don't say complete unless it's actually closed out.
And it will say complete and actuals when it's done. Okay, thank you.
Sir?
I do have some questions, but before I do, I would like to compliment the staff on the amount of work that they have documented in this I don't know, 57, 87, it was long report with 33 scorecards and all kinds of information on the scorecards. It was quite the task going through it, and I'm not sure that I can quantify what in my mind happened because of all the information. It just looked like a lot of work. And I did have a question about priority scores because start dates didn't line up with priority scores. Some were put out a year, but they had the highest priority. So how are the priority scores determined, and what does it mean? I mean, what do you use the priority score for?
A very good question. We do have a prioritization process where we do rank projects, and many of those projects with the higher priority have been worked on, and they might look different in terms of what I mean by worked on is because we have some that were already in construction, but they were probably lower in priority, but we're trying to also complete those projects so we can move on to the next higher priority. So that was one reason. Another reason you might have seen that is because some of those projects we deprioritize some of them because they were already part of the clean and green scope. So we're confirming, do we really need to do that project if clean and green might actually cover the same need? So that was some reasons why we were looking at projects to be, they might have ranked higher in priority, but they were not worked on. But most of our projects are higher priority are being worked on right now. There were a few where they are in the planning phase versus the construction phase, but we do consider that a project that is high priority that we are working on now, but they're not in construction yet. They're in planning before design. So we're receiving an assessment to determine what direction we're going to go for those projects.
And there's a number of tasks, and I think King Meredith, Director King Meredith, touched on it. And I was confused by the two classifications at the plant. We had the clean and green, and then we had facilities. And it seemed like there was sort of an overlap there.
So that is also a very good question. So we have Clean and Green Project, which is a portfolio in itself. There's many things that are happening within the Clean and Green Project for efficiencies, but also because of what they are doing in terms of our climate action goals, they're being wrapped up in the Clean and Green Project. But we also have separate projects that are facilities project that are not part of the Clean and Green Project, so they'll be part of the facilities program. For the plant processes projects, they are different parts of the plant that are focusing on enhancing our plant operations, but they're not part of the Clean and Green Project. It could be a variety of reasons why those projects weren't wrapped up into that specific project, but most of the climate action related projects that we have are in part of the Clean and Green Project versus improving operations at the plant.
Thank you. And then, of course, I can't let any item go without having an opinion. So after having reviewed the scorecards of the 33 projects, I would give our overall progress a grade of C, but that's my opinion. I have yet to hear what you guys officially think your grade is. I have been contacted by many of the highly experienced staff that retired or left in the last 2+ years and have heard a consistent refrain. They left because they were not happy with their jobs. Staff has posited that perhaps they were unable to adapt to the new policies established by the board. I believe their absence and experience is a factor in explaining the middling grade I gave our capital improvements efforts. We need more staff, and it was mentioned many times in your report. As a board, is it the policies we've established that has negatively affected the retention and motivation of skilled employees? But as to the amount of work and the appreciation that I have for all the work done by all the staff, it seems like you've been very, 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 very busy. That's it.
Just thank you for the report. Very, very informative.
Thank you.
And I know that, so the IOE, do you have anything to add from your committee?
No,
A recommendation?
yeah, recommendation would be to, approve.
Okay, so you want to move
Yeah, I'll move the item.
the item,
Mhm.
and do we have a second? Second. To adopt the item, second, thank you. So, Madam Clerk, the item's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the revised 10-year CIP. And there's no further discussion, will you please take the vote?
Sure. On the motion by Vice President Alvarado and seconded by Director Rentila to adopt the revised 10-year capital improvement program, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes.
Thank you so much. A lot of hard work. Now we will return to the item that was pulled from the consent calendar. I believe it was item number 2. Madam Clerk, is that correct? You want to read it back into the record so we can address it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So item 2 is to approve a contract with Carollo Engineers, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $1,531,821 for master plan services for a 2.5-year term and authorize the general manager to execute the same. Approve a $229,273 contract contingency for unexpected changes and authorize the general manager to execute the $229,273 contract contingency if deemed to be in the best interest of WCW.
Thank you for that. And before we begin, do we have any public comment on this item?
We have not received written comments. If anyone wishes to speak on item 2 from the consent calendar, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you so much. Director Wiener, you pulled the item. Would you like to let us know why you pulled it? If you have you wanted to discuss it.
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
And that's why I pulled it. And I have a brief comment.
Go ahead.
I reviewed the presentation to the IOE committee and regarding the 20-year master plan. And I've read the staff report in the agenda. And I have some concerns about the utility of a 20-year master plan, given the extreme and chaotic changes to the financial and environmental situation that will occur over the next 20 years. I have no crystal ball, but given that predictions for global temperature rise appear to be off by 10 years, and the extreme inequality in wealth distribution that is occurring at an accelerated rate year over year, I do not see how Carollo or any other engineering firm can create a predictive and useful 20-year plan. I think our resources would be better spent on in-house engineering expertise and highly experienced plant operators and highly experienced sewer systems maintenance staff. Our district will need to be nimble and quick if we are to deal with the chaotic weather and economic chaos that is sure to come. I also believe we will see an avalanche of federal government spending when it is inevitably accepted we are in a self-made emergency and dire situation. We need to have a West County Wastewater Administration that is ready to take advantage. Being nimble and quick requires highly motivated in-house staff, not off-the-shelf consultants. What evidence do I have for my concerns? The most important is that insurance companies know they will not be able to make money because of the widespread damage and dislocation baked into climate change. This alone will ultimately destabilize the financial markets and is a predictor of things to come. I do not believe all is lost. I believe we must begin today focusing on our workforce, its experience, and our employee retention. Employees, not just databases and management, are the key. We must be prepared to pivot once our digesters and mini-grid are complete. Do not lose sight of the fact that past failures necessitated the Clean and Green project and not board or management foresight. That's my comment.
Thank you. Director Andila, any comments?
No, I just second the motion so I could hear Director Wiener's thoughts, and appreciate your thoughts and your concerns.
Thank you. Dr. King Meredith, anything to add or comments?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
I'd like to move the item.
Yeah, I also have no comments. Thank you. And is there a second to move the item?
Second.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Any further comments? All right, with that, the item's been properly moved. Thank you for your comments, Director Wiener. The item's been properly moved in second, and never mind. Go ahead. Take the vote.
Do we ask for public
I-
comment on this?
We asked for public comments already. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to. Go ahead and take the vote.
On the motion by President Alvarado and seconded by Director Rentila to approve a contract with Carollo Engineers, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $1,531,821 for master plan services for a 2.5-year term and authorize the general manager to execute the same. Approve a $229,273 $1,000 contract contingency for unexpected changes and authorize the general manager to execute the $229,273 contingency if deemed to be in the best interest of WCW. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
Nope.
The motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. All right. Sir, back to you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 7 under other business, which includes receiving the June 2023 check register report and a presentation on Prop 218 and West County Wastewater's rate setting process. Madam Clerk, have we received written comments or requests to speak on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on the item now, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, and before we get started, can everyone please, during the presentation at least, turn off your mics unless you have a question. And we will let General Counsel do the presentation, and then we will ask questions.
If you want to handle first, if there are any questions regarding the check register report?
Yes, let's do that first. Are there any questions on the check register?
I just have one observation.
You have an observation?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, our ratepayers paid Carollo Engineering over $1.9 million in the month of June. That's my observation.
And let's contextualize that. They do have a contract for services.
No, I know.
So I still want to contextualize that.
Okay.
It's per their contract, so.
The primary services were for performance of the Clean and Green.
At the Clean and Green project. So
I
it's not out of
understand.
order. So I want to make sure we contextualize that payment.
It's
Okay.
a lot of money.
Well, it's in line with the services. So,
Contract approved by the board.
and the board approved it, and I think it's in line. with the services they provided. Okay. All right, next item. Okay, board, mic's off, so we can move to the wonderful 218. Let's do that. So, Ms. Nicole, before you start, let's just take a 5-minute break. 8:55, please be back on time. It's 8:50 right now. 8:55, please be back at the dais on time. Thanks.
All right, now, test, test, test. So if I sat like this, is this good? Oh, okay. She accused me of speaking softly.
We could spend a long time trying to adjust the mic. We're ready.
All right, let's get back to work.
Okay. Well, good evening again. Justin Lovell, Director of Administrative Services. So I'm actually going to start the presentation. So General Counsel Witt and I are going to switch off, but I will really start on talking about what kind of how our budget works and processes that we've followed, and Nicole is going to focus more on the legal side of kind of what rules we need to follow.
Okay, so just one second. I wanted to say this before you start. Directors, this is one of those presentations that a few weeks ago, this particular topic came up on Prop 218. So when I spoke to General Counsel, I really wanted to make sure that we had a fundamental understanding of this. But this is one in a series of things that the General Counsel and Sir Justin and the General Manager, we're going to be having these kind of mini trainings throughout our board meetings. So we all have we're all starting from the same standpoint, and we all have a good understanding of some of these terms that we keep throwing around. So I wanted to make sure we all have that good basis for why we're having these trainings during these meetings. So there you go, sir.
Yeah, so just, yes. That's correct.
This is just training. It's good general information for the board and also for the public and anybody who may watch this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll be diving more into Proposition 218, which really governs the majority of our revenues here at West County Wastewater. I think I just turned it off by accident. There we go. There. So just to start off on our operating budget, so this pie chart represents all of our revenues that we receive for the operations and maintenance at West County Wastewater. So you see that large orange section, that is our sewer service charges. That's 89% of our operating budget. And that is what we'll go diving into that is our sewer service charges. And those are governed under Proposition 218, which we'll get more into. The sewer service charges are placed on the property tax roll, which the board just approved in June to place the sewer service charges for fiscal year 24 on the property tax roll. And the county will collect the sewer service charges on the tax roll, and then the county remits it to us on 3 times a year, once in December, 55%, 45% in April, and then it's 40% in April, and then the remaining 5% in June. The remaining mix of our revenues, we do get a small portion of property taxes, and that's really just a remnant because our district is been around for a long time, and there was based on just how it was formed, these are mostly actually property taxes from around the city of San Pablo area, because that was the original area of the wastewater district. We also receive some revenues through fees. This is permit fees. We do some leases, so we lease some of our property. We also receive some revenue through secondary effluent, like through East Bay Mud. We have some contract services for some of the other, for the county. We provide, as well as like Crockett Community Services District, we provide some contract maintenance for some lift stations and pump stations in the area as well. But really just, if you look at this, is the majority, vast majority of all of our revenues are coming from our sewer service charges. So now pass it over to Nicole, and she can kind of talk a little bit about why this is important.
Go back a couple slides. So I think that overview of the budget, the operating budget, is incredibly important because that's really where this Prop 218 discussion starts. And that context and that basis is important for understanding where we go from there. And I think this history is also important context for you. I want you all to understand a little bit more about how Prop 218 came to be. And it starts with Prop 13. Prop 13, as I'm sure you are all familiar with, came about at a time of really rapidly increasing tax burden. And in particular, you had home values rising and the assessed property value for that reason similarly increasing, such that the property tax burden for folks in California was rapidly increasing, sometimes even outstripping mortgage payments. And so what Prop 13 did is it took really hundreds of different local property tax rates and consolidated them into a single tax rate statewide, 1% of the total cash value of the property. As a result of that, the property tax revenues into the state decreased by nearly 50%. And the other sort of important context here is that Prop 13 introduced this context, or this concept of special taxes, taxes for a special purpose. So those property taxes, that 1% property tax rate, those taxes are collected by the counties. They are distributed to the districts within the county based on pre-Prop 13 allocations. And that was one of the slices that you saw on our budget pie that Justin was speaking about. So proponents of Prop 13 were frustrated to learn that in implementing and interpreting Proposition 13, courts didn't extend its limitations to assessments, regulatory user fees, and charges. And so Prop 218 emerged in response to those judicial interpretations. And what we are going to talk about tonight, Prop 218 has different aspects to it. We're going to talk about one aspect tonight, which is the requirements of Prop 218 with regard to property-related fees imposed as an incident of property ownership. That's an important concept and an important term for our purposes. Does that work? Okay, there we go. So the next question is really, why does this matter? And it matters because Prop 13 requires that new, increased, or extended local taxes must be approved by local voters. So general taxes are approved by 50%, or have a 50% approval threshold, and special taxes have a 2/3 threshold, which then leads us to ask the question, what's a tax? And for our purposes, what is not a tax? What is not a tax is what is itemized here on this list. And for our discussion tonight, we're looking at that last bullet point, property-related fees and assessments governed by Prop 218. So I want to talk a little bit about a few different buckets of revenue that West County has, just to draw some distinctions here. So we're going to be talking about sewer rates this evening. And this charge, sewer rates, are really triggered by mere property ownership. There is no voluntary action on the part of the individual that triggers that sewer rate. You own the property, that is what triggers it. And the key principle under Prop 218 for these types of rates is that everyone pays their fair share. There is a cost of providing the service, and everyone pays their fair share of providing that service. The next sort of bucket of revenue that or charges that I wanted to talk about are capacity charges, or what we used to call connection fees. And this is the concept that if a new customer requires connection, new infrastructure to our system, then growth pays for growth. Existing ratepayers should not pay for additional development from which they will not benefit, nor should they pay for additional burden that they are not responsible for. Again, we're not going to get into the concept of these types of charges in detail, but I wanted to kind of draw that distinction. You have sewer service charges where the principle is really everyone pays their fair share, and then connection fees or capacity charges, where the concept is the growth pays for growth. All right, so we can get into the substantive requirements here for Prop 218. I'm going to talk about the substantive requirements and then the procedural requirements, and then we will talk a little bit more about what West County's process is. So Prop 218's requirements here are really triggered when a fee is increased or extended, which means for our purposes that the fee goes up, that the calculation methodology changes in some way. What an increase does not mean is a previously approved automatic adjustment similar to what West County has. So long as the fee schedule with the automatic adjustments is approved and doesn't exceed 5 years and the ratepayers get notice of the adjustment in advance, then that is not what would be considered an increase in the rate for the purposes of Prop 218. So this slide here walks through the substantive requirements of Prop 218, and generally these all focus on the concept of proportionality, and as I said, making sure that everyone pays their fair share. So the first requirement here, revenues cannot exceed the funds required to provide the related service. The proportionality question here is, does the revenue pie equal the expense pie? So Justin showed you before our operating budget. That's fundamental to that, to answering that question, making sure that we can say that the revenue pie and the expense pie are balanced. And Justin's going to talk more in detail about how we go through this process, but it really starts with West County contracting with a rate consultant to create a cost of service analysis. And that analysis really pulls all the costs of providing the service, short-term costs, long-term costs, reserves. That all goes in, and that is what becomes our understanding and informs our understanding of the pie so that we can comply with this first substantive requirement. The second substantive requirement is that revenues cannot be used for any purpose other than to pay for the service for which it was charged. This is generally not an issue for single-purpose agencies like West County, but if West County operated a water enterprise and it operated a sewer enterprise, it couldn't collect water rates and use them to pay for the sewer service. That's really what that piece is getting at. The next item here is that the amount of the fee charged for any individual parcel cannot exceed the proportional cost of providing service to that parcel. So this proportionality question is really asking, is the that is allocated proportionate to the use? And it's important to know that when we talk about parcels here, we are talking about the unit of the property that receives the service. So if you have a large parcel with many smaller components within that receive service, each of those is a parcel for the purposes of this substantive requirement here. So when we are looking at this piece, and again, Justin is going to talk in more detail, the question of whether or not the proportional cost or the cost of the rate is proportionate to what's used, we are looking at a number of assumptions related to flow, related to strength. All of these go into our assumptions and our analysis of what the use is. And it's important to note, for the purposes of Prop 218, that it's not required that the allocation be perfect, just that it is reasonable and based on our best data. So that's really the threshold. It doesn't need to be what the courts would prefer. It doesn't need to be what a member of the public would prefer. It is about what the agency has determined to be reasonable based on our best data. And then the last item here is that the charge cannot be imposed unless the service is used by or immediately available to the payor. Really, that is about whether or not the agency has provided the connection. All right. So this slide here sets out the procedural requirements, the process that we have to follow in order to adopt an increase in rates under Prop 218. So the first few are pretty self-explanatory, but this is really fundamentally a process of notice, public hearing, and an opportunity for the affected record or the affected parcels to protest. And if a majority of owners protest, then the agency may not adopt the charges. In reality, majority protests are infrequent unless the agency is very small. But this is the process as it's laid out. And it's important to, I guess, also note that in this context of public hearing and protest, when the agency holds a public hearing, it must listen to all public comments and consider them. But for the purposes of tabulating the protest, what we tabulate are the written protests received in advance of the conclusion of the public hearing. And with that, I will turn it over to Justin.
So, now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did as an agency. This is the process, the Prop 218, the rate making process was started, and we did early in 2021. So the board adopted a 5-year sewer rate plan in June of 2021. So we're just getting into year 3 of a 5-year rate plan. So so we start off with what was called a revenue sufficiency analysis. We went through an RFP process. We hired a consultant that has expertise in establishing rates and helping create financial forecasts. And so that revenue sufficiency analysis really focuses on the entire operations. So our operations plus any of our capital plans, because we need, beyond than just paying for our operating expenses, we also have a need to maintain and replace aging infrastructure. So we also need to make sure that we have sufficient funds to pay for our capital program as well. And so we do some initial analysis looking at what our current rate structure is and any knowns that, things that are going to happen in the future that we know of. And we make some assumptions. How much are electricity costs going to increase? How much are chemical costs going to increase? What changes are going to be made? Do we have current capital projects? Is it going to cost more? Is the area growing? So there's a lot of components that are going into it. As West County Wastewater, we're largely built out, and any new connections into the system are mostly what I would call infill. So we don't have huge developments like some other parts of the state may have, where there's thousands of homes being connected into a system at any one point in time. That large building growth period, I think, really happened for us probably in the 60s is when there was quite a bit of expansion within our service area. So we look at the revenue sufficiency. Do we have enough revenues to cover our expenses? And we also look at it just from the operating standpoint, because we do have an obligation with any existing loans, rates, that we need to pay for operations and maintenance first. So we take all that information and we created a 10-year financial forecast. So that 10-year financial forecast is going to help lay us out, to look at how much the rates should increase, or what are some of the options? What are the high end? What's the low end? What are our different assumptions? And so at that point, after we had our 10-year financial forecast, we went to the board and we first went to the committee and we looked at the different options, and we got feedback from the board at the time. What's the range? What do we think is the lowest rate increase that we think we could have? What was our staff recommending? And then we get the comfort level of the board, because we have to make some decisions before we go further along the process. So with that input from the board, from the committee and then the board, then we developed a 5-year rate plan. And we came back to the board, and then the board preliminary approved what the rate plan would be. So that included our current rate plan was a 5.5% increase for the first 4 years, and a 3% increase. Based on our 10-year financial forecast, we were looking to get ourselves in a position where we could have 3% increases in the out years. Going forward, that we could keep the rate increases to as minimal as possible. So once the board approved this 5-year rate plan, so we were making sure that we've allocated the revenues across all the the various parcels. As we have, the majority of our ratepayers are single-family homes. We do have multifamily homes, and then there's different rates for the commercial properties. But as the 35,000 or 34,000 parcels that we have within the district, the vast majority, only about 900 are commercial and on the industrial side. So we're looking about almost 33,000 parcels are or homes, or to call single-family homes or multifamily residential apartment buildings. So after we have a 5-year rate plan, then we prepared a written notice. And so this is the next step within the rate making process, is that we have to provide a written notice to all of the parcel owners. So these are the parcel owners on record that with the parcel data from the county. And we have to provide that written notice, what the rate plan is, as well as give them a date of a public hearing. So we have to provide that written notice 45 days before the public hearing. And the public hearing is when the board would hear the public hearing and tabulate the written protest. So as part of that written notice, there is an opportunity for the parcel owners to protest the rate plan. And so based on Prop 218, they have to protest it through a written, they have to provide a written protest. And so they can mail it in, they can drop it off. There's various ways that somebody could provide a written protest. So on the day of the public hearing, so prior to the start of the public hearing is when there's no more written protest can be received. Any protests have to be tabulated and counted. And then a public hearing is held. Any public comments are held from the board. And then there's a determination, is there less than half of the parcel owners providing a written protest? And if there is, then the board can go ahead and vote on that rate plan. But if there is a majority protest, then the board would not be able to vote on that, because the parcel owners have said they do not want, they protested the rate increase. In our case, that would require probably over 17,000 written protests. So it's a vast majority. As Nicole said, it typically happens in much smaller districts. And so then then there's the vote on the rate plan. And so as the board did in June of 2021, voted on the 5-year rate plan, and then that put in motion what the board can approve on a year-to-year basis. So as you recall, just a couple board meetings ago, the board approved the plan that was the 5.5% increase for fiscal year 24, and then allowed staff to go ahead and put those new rates on the tax roll with the county. That goes on. So the next one, so just as takeaways of our process. So it's really the Prop 218 is designed to make rate setting difficult. So we do have to go through a process. It pretty much does require consultants on our end to come and review and verify that we're following the correct process. We work very closely with our general counsel as well to make sure we're following all the rules as part of the rate setting processes. So we're not required to set perfectly calibrated rates. I know that there's been discussions and questions about those who may use less water than their home, or those who have a lot more people in their house. To have that level of detail, it's just the nature of wastewater is very difficult to meter flow from wastewater, because it's not it's not pressurized like the water system. So it's to get an accurate gauge of how much wastewater is coming out, and then to test the strength would be very labor intensive and would actually cost a lot of resources, very inefficient for us, especially when the vast majority of our parcels are single family homes. It's much better to do occasional studies to look at what's the average usage of water across a wide area, and then do some initial testing on a periodic basis every so many years to look at the strength and just verify that we're on that our rates are fair and equitable for the different types of ratepayers. And then just the courts. So any legal challenges that have happened, they generally defer to agencies that make good faith efforts to demonstrate that our costs are reasonably justified and that they're proportional to those that are receiving the service. And so then if it doesn't fit, if it's a charge and it doesn't fit into into those constitutional exceptions, then it's classified as a tax. But as for our purposes and our revenue sources, we really only have one tax, and that's property tax that we receive as revenue, but we don't have any jurisdiction of it. It's just we get our proportion from the county because we've been in existence kind of the pre-Prop 13. But everything else that we're receiving as revenues, really they fall under the Prop 218, which is the vast majority of our revenues, and then we have several fees as well. So I think that kind of ends our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Nice presentation. Thank you so much. Very informative. I just have a really quick question, and then I will turn it over to the board. Majority, it's a simple majority, right? Okay. That was it. Board?
Sure.
Sir, you want to start?
So my question is that there's a cannabis cultivation warehouse that's going up right now on Collins off of Giant Road, right next to Parkchester. It's huge. It's the size of a high school. And I was wondering how that would be taxed.
So I can't speak specifically to that, but I can talk a little bit generally of how, because that is outside of our operating fees. That would be through a sewer service charge. Once it gets connected to the system, then it is based on the use. As a commercial or is it designated as industrial? I don't know the specific case of what its designation has been. There's other divisions that would handle that determination. But if it's so I don't know what the rate would be, but if it falls under, say, a commercial, it's based on flow. So we would go and they would look at the amount of water that's used, and then there's a calculation that's done on an annual basis based on water usage and what type of category that they are, and then the strength. There's some general assumptions on the strength of the wastewater. In that case where it's more kind of agricultural based, where they may not have a large strength, there's an opportunity for commercial owners to install essentially an effluent meter to record how much wastewater is actually going out of the system and make some adjustments on that. So there's also some options that there are a couple commercial properties that do that because a lot of their water is not going into the wastewater system. And if they're able to demonstrate that to us, we can make adjustments on their sewer charges.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you, Justin, and Attorney Nicole. I thought it was very informative. I really, really enjoyed this. I remember Proposition 13, I think. Am I dating myself when it came about? But yes, yeah. But thank you so very much. It was well presented.
I have the same comment. And also I'm dating myself because I remember. Let's see. We had a spill, and interestingly, we took some samples, and we found that there was a coliform bacteria above in the stream where we had our spill. And so I asked a local resident, a long time resident of El Sobrante, and lives on the creek, about septic. And he said, oh yeah, we got septic systems along the creek. So my question is, do we charge them a sewage fee?
If a parcel is on the septic system, I'd have to make the assumption that they have never connected. And so if they have not connected into our sewer system, we're not charging them a fee because they're outside of our kind of jurisdiction.
Okay. And no one's allowed to get septic anymore?
I don't know if that's allowed on the county level, and if they are outside of our boundaries, they could potentially do a septic, but if they're inside our boundaries, then they would have to connect into our sewer system. So I don't know the rules of each particular county.
Yeah,
I don't know if Hoover has any.
that was the rule I was interested in. Okay, thank you.
Yes, very well done. And before we move on, Madam, do we have any public comment? I cannot forget.
We haven't had any written comments come in. Would you like me to invite comments now? All right, if anyone wishes to comment, please come to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Wonderful, thank you so much. We appreciate the training. We look forward to the next training.
Yes.
Back to you, General Manager.
Yes, ma'am. The final item on the agenda is item 8, Directors' Comments, Meeting Reports. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments or requests to speak on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
As a reminder, Directors, you will report on meetings that you've attended, which you are seeking reimbursement or compensation from the district, and other matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the agency. I know you adore your family and you love your community, but this is items that are relevant to West County Wastewater. It is the late hour of 9:28. So I would appreciate a little brevity. I know when the microphone get in front of some of us, we like to pretend we're on evening news. But we're not.
So,
Little brevity.
you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, the neighborhood, this neighborhood in particular will have a dumpster day, free dumping on August 12th, Saturday, from 10 to 2, or from 8 to 10, 8 to 12, I'm sorry. The RNCC retreat is August 26th. We'll be discussing things affecting all of our neighborhoods. We'll have National Night Out here on the first Tuesday at Hilltop Community Church. Yeah. And I'll pass it on to my colleague.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Well, I attended the North Richmond Municipal Advisory Council, and the gist of the meeting was mainly talking about the scatter sites and what was affordable and what was happening with the Contra Costa Housing Authority and its first phase. I'll make it very brief. So that was one of the main catalysts that was being discussed. That item was moved from the program reports to one of the main items to be discussed, and it went on for the duration of the meeting. It took 75% of the meeting. The other meeting that I attended, and this was by Zoom, and this was the Castro. I have been reporting to you all about the Castro and the closing of its unhoused site. It is now being deemed closed. A gate has been added to the street of Fred Jackson and Castro, but the services are still being provided to the unhoused at this point. So they're still doing their work, but they have completed half of the grant that was granted $4 million, and they have exceeded and actually had the expense of over 2.6 million so far. So they have a remaining of $2 million at this point. So they're doing excellent work. And the next, and that was the Castro advisory stakeholders. And the next one that I have, was the city council, very brief with the city council. One of the main discussions was looking at a soccer field and to utilize one of the parks and turn it into a soccer field, because soccer is not just a seasonal game, it's year-round. And I did have something else, but I can't remember, but I'm gonna close it for now. Thank you.
I attended the El Sobrante Chamber meeting, September 17th, the stroll. The El Sobrante, and I attended the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council along with many members of our staff and board. Staff answered all questions regarding the sewage spill along San Pablo Creek. Our presence in numbers went a long way to reassuring the community they were a priority to West County Wastewater. Thank you all for attending, those that did. I attended the West County Forum. The speaker was Richmond Chief of Police, Biza French. Her presentation was more than interesting. It was dramatic in its description of her personal and professional challenges that led her to her current role in Richmond. Excuse me for the pun, but her speech was arresting.
I needed it, but. I attended the IOE committee meeting here on July 11th. I attended same day the North Richmond MAC committee meeting. And there was spirited conversation regarding the cannabis cultivation facility. And the Housing Authority updated their plan for affordable housing, which also resulted in some spirited conversations and debate. I attended the FA committee, as you know, meeting on July 13th in place of President Suddiff, and we already know what happened at that meeting. I attended the San Pablo Council meeting on July 17th, and there was a proclamation recognizing August 1st as National Night Out. There was a presentation by Caltrans on the upcoming paving project for Interstate 80, and notably a public hearing on replacing the current flood plan management and flood damage prevention ordinance with a new plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am not going to tell you all my notes, but I will tell you that it's been a busy, a really, really chaotic last couple of weeks. As most of you know, I've been gone from home except for the last couple of days. I was able to attend NALEO in New York, the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, for a week, and then the association of, and there was a national convening of Muslim elected officials in Chicago right afterwards on my way back. And I also was at a Water Education for Latino Leaders event, the California African American Water Education Fund, where I'm was surprised because I'm the treasurer, but I show up at the meeting and they said, yeah, you're acting chair now. Surprise. So this afternoon, I got a chance to participate in the president, vice president town hall for Aqua. We're voting on new president, vice president. We also had the NAACP Climate and Environmental Justice Committee. I sit on that, our committee meeting this afternoon. And I gave a presentation for a local Democratic club out in East County on environmental issues and water issues. I'm doing the same for, it's called the Climate Emergency Mobilization Task Force. I'll be delivering a presentation on water and water emergency on the 21st at, it starts, let me see. It's their fourth virtual summit series. It's called Climate and Water. It's on the 21st, starting at 9 o'clock.
I can send you the information. And then I also attended the El Sovereign Mac meeting, the RNCC meeting. Thank you very much, Artol and Harry and David. They attended both of those. And also our Northern California Environmental Caucus meeting, where we are looking at all of the bills that we should be supporting. The EPA meetings, 2 of them in Sacramento, and our CARB meeting yesterday at 5:30 p.m. There is some new rules coming down on emissions. I think that's it. I think that's enough.
I think so.
It's been a busy week. There is one thing I will tell you. There is a meeting coming up. Thank you, Ms. Nicole and Justin. That was a great primer. There is another training online. I was looking for it on my phone. I couldn't find it. I saw it right before this meeting, so I will find it and send it. I will send it to Justin and Nicole, and they can send it out to you. And it is called Municipal Finance. It's a webinar, and it is for all of us. I signed up for it already. Signed up for it earlier this afternoon, but it's a wonderful training series that I would recommend that everyone take if you can. It's I think it's 2 hours, and I would recommend you taking it. And I think having taken this one today, it should make this one flow easier. I've taken 2 of them in the series, and it's a really good series. So when I get home tonight, I will find the link so that I can send it to you guys. With that, is there any other business? If not, any other business for future agenda? If not, I would like to hit this gavel. Miss Robin, you have some announcements to make, right?
Yes. Okay, so quick reminder, don't forget that your campaign finance statements are due on July 31st. Thank you. And then the next regular meeting is August 2nd. And as a reminder, the August 16th and September 6th regular meetings are canceled for your board recess, and also there will be no committees in August.
And with that, what time is it?
It's 9:39.
The meeting is adjourned at 9:39. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you in August. Thank you. Turn off your mics, please.
Because it basically, they're not able to connect to the system. Then there's a whole set of the health officer groups.
Yeah, you got a bounce, okay.
Well, you have a good one until we see you again.
Right.
August, right?
That's right, and that's the night out.
In Monterey? Yeah, National Night Out.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, that's the night out. Okay?
We'll see you.
Okay,
Hey,
then.
tell Freddie.
Okay.
You can tell him my name. Let me know what he says.
Oh, well, you know, he asked, that's what he said at our last finale meeting, you know, it's all on him now, you know, we've done as much as we can, you know, and he's followed through.